This is less of a question of who does it better and more of a question of what we can learn from two fantastic singers. We're going to talk about how belting works and how these two amazing singers approach belts differently depending on what they want to achieve. Let's get into it. Now, this is a very interesting part of the range where getting a lot of volume on a belt is actually not so easy. So this is really cool. She brings the thyroid cartilage to get that vibrato. This is a really cool technique. So this is your thyroid cartilage. These are your vocal folds. Notice how they are attached to the thyroid cartilage. So when you want to do vibrato, you tilt them forward. That stretches out the vocal folds. But also notice how vocal folds are larger than these muscles. These muscles are the cricothyroid muscles. They are responsible for tilting the thyroid cartilage in the forward direction. In doing so, because those vocal folds are larger, you end up having this kind of thing happen where there's this little shake and instability, and that's what creates vibrato. Except when we get to belting, it's quite the opposite. When you tilt your thyroid cartilage backwards in this direction, the opposite happens and the vocal folds come together like this, and that's what creates a belt. And so that thing that we love where there's that, that with the belt to the vibrato, I'm not a great belter. That wasn't actually a belt, but we're going to pretend for the sake of argument that that's what that was. It wasn't, but that's what that was. We're pretending. That is me having the thyroid cartilage backwards and then bringing it forwards. And so there's this range of motion. And so I think it's really important to be able to do both. But it's noteworthy. If you hear vibrato, it is likely not a belt. There is a way to do it at the same time, but I have yet to run into a lot of examples of that. I think Wagnerian singers are people who use both. It is theorized by some and not others. So. The reason I'm stunned isn't because hitting these notes, I literally have chills actually. The reason I was like, holy crap, is the sound. The tone quality is tremendous. It's such a good sound. It's so hard to make a good belt, like in terms of it sounding round. It is actually a very special thing to be able to do. And Whitney is one of the few people who I've ever heard who have a Lush belt. Reminds me of a little bit. This belt reminds me of Judy Garland. And now we get some belts from Mariah. Turned out to be. Love the vowels. Oh my God. These two singers are so good. It's so good. An embarrassment of riches. Oh my God. I love it. So what we're getting from both singers are different vowels in order to adjust the tone quality because belts are a little abrasive. That's just bright. That's very Broadway. Right? And now watch what happens when we get to the... Watch what happens when we get the Mariah belt right here. We're going to watch her lips. That's going to be very important. Turned out to be. So we have E to That's basically a schwa or an umlaut. And that's going to get you a very different tone quality as you ascend. This technique is called vowel modification. So this is a very, very common technique for operatic tenors. So if I go up and I don't want the note to really pop, I will do more of the So an example of that is this. Comme de ton sol, right, more neutral, a little bit of an Now I'm going to go up and do a bright one. Comme de ton sol, very different tone quality. That's a nice even vowel. Oh. That's vowel modification right there as well. Wah, to get that more lush sound on that belt. Oh my God, she's so good. That tone quality is so beautiful. And I love she comes off of it with an aspirate abrupt. Yeah, that's such a smart way to descend. That's so brilliant. That's so good. So forgive me, my belting is not so great. But like I said, when your folds are fat right there, it's really hard to switch really abruptly and to get into that more lush sound as she descended. So she did what's called an aspirate abrupt. So she blows the vocal folds open with a sound, with an aspirate. Except she does it way better because she's fucking Whitney. But that belt sound and it allows her to go into that thyroid cartilage to get that lush sound. So she can go bam on the belt. She can go whoopsh, whoopsh, Mike Tyson, right? And then she just does that aspirate gradual. She has so much closure on the belt, so much closure. Boom, the aspirate gradual, right? The aspirate abrupt. She blows those folds open, puts them together again, but does a totally different technique where her thyroid goes from back to the belt forward for the second part of that. Really cool way to get into that. Oh, the adjustment. Woo! Okay, so one of the things that can happen when you get a little tense is I speak with retracted vocal folds. I just like the sound of it. But when you sing, if you put too much breath pressure behind it, what can happen is that your retracted false folds go closer a little bit, very hard to avoid in the higher end unless you're masterful about your breath. What you see here in the first note here is what you hear is the false folds are coming together. The retract folds are not so retracted. She backs it off. Listen to this next one. Now, I'm not sure if that was on purpose. There is a rationale you could say that it was on purpose, because if you repeat the same note and it has the same volume and the same lushness, you could argue that it's too repetitive and there's no growing in the phrase of the song. Given how good Whitney is, it could be probably that it was on purpose. even if it's not on purpose, the ability to adjust that quickly on the fly, that's incredible. Because it's a subtle thing. It's very subtle. Wait. What the fuck? What the fuck? I just got demonetized and I don't even give a fuck. Holy shit. That's not a belt. That's a belt. That's really well done. Different all day, all different songs. Mariah's mic technique is absolutely exceptional. Sometimes it happens to be the case that you are just not in a place to sustain a note, right? It's so much harder to sustain a note than it is to touch it. So you have to respect that when that's where you're at, that's where you're at. And if you try to do it otherwise, you're going to splat. So this was actually, I like this from Mariah. And she uses mic technique to kind of exaggerate the effect as well. So, you know, that's the thing is these artists have incredibly demanding songs. And so having that ability to work around it's really important. Was nice. It wasn't a ballad, but it was nice. What? Okay, now we're getting into whistle on head. So. Nice. Very delicate. Very pretty. Obviously, she was trying. That's really nice. That's hard to do. So she's floating. That's actually massive. You get these almost these loud operatic kind of tone qualities sometimes. And then she can just like kind of, it's so hard to, when you go up, to maintain that sort of, that flute-like quality, because it's so much easier to keep the folds together when you do that tilt for the thyroid cartilage. And you do that thyroid cartilage tilt, what's happening is those folds are stretching out. And so it actually really helps with those high notes. And you can use more power, but it will create that power because when you do that tilt and the fold stretches out, there's a lot more breath pressure that kind of builds up underneath that. That's what creates that power, is that tilt. So to not have that tilt, but to keep the folds from blowing open requires a precision of air and breath. I mean, it's really remarkable. Oh, God, the sound of her voice is gorgeous. I did not know Whitney had this going on with her voice. That's kind of extraordinary. We get into the C6s, we do have, there's a it necessitates that kind of tilt. Holy crap, that's astonishing. There's no, what? There's no whistling going on. Oh, that is a whistle. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, listen, on the head voice, I got to say, that's a hard act to follow up, but we got to give it to Mariah when it comes to the whistles. I'm sorry. As cool as those are,